Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Ghost of Tsushima, exclusively for the PlayStation 4. Sucker Punch Productions, the developers behind the infamous series from the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 era, have gone a completely different direction. Instead of focusing on superpowers and superheroes and mutants, we have entered feudal Japan, where the Isle of Tsushima has been invaded by a Mongol army. You take control as Jin Sakai, who is suffering from the fact that he has failed to defend the honor and essentially the lives of his mentors, be it his father or his uncle. And now, in an attempt to not only push out the Mongol army, he also tries to avenge and free his uncle. As I said, instead of focusing on superpowers and mutants and everything, this is a very realistic take of feudal Japan, of samurais, of sword fighting, with of course some gameplay elements that are a little more fantastical in nature. The gameplay is rooted in a system that is closer to the Shadow of Mordor games or the Batman Arkham games than it is to the infamous games. Biggest things about this gameplay is the fact that blocking and parrying are essential. Getting the timing down when you're face to face or surrounded by a group of enemies and trying to parry and block at the perfect time to unleash a counter strike that could land a one-hit kill is imperative to success, because in this game you do not have that much health. You can restore your health in mid-battle, but it is connected to a resolve system that is filled up as you perform perfect blocks and parries, and at times even kills, depending on certain charms and items that you find that attach to your weaponry and your clothing. You can go into this game swinging for the fences, but a majority of the time you will get cut down very quickly because the game rewards patience. The gameplay, hands down, is one of the most rewarding experiences I've had in quite some time while playing a PlayStation 4 exclusive game. And that's not even mentioning some of the other systems that are in place, including the ability to be an assassin, to slip through the shadows. Even though it is against the way of the samurai, the ability to pull off stealth kills is up to the player. And if you want to go through a whole army and just stealth killing and assassinating anyone in your path, you can do so. But just be warned that it will dishonor your family and your good name. When it comes to exploration and when it comes to the overall world, the game is full of stuff to find, stuff to do, including taking over forts or liberating areas that is very similar to, say, the Ubisoft games Far Cry or even Marvel Spider-Man, with some stipulations that are attached to freeing or liberating certain areas, such as killing one enemy with a perfect parry, or slaughtering 5 enemies without taking any damage. With these bonuses comes more experience points that give you technique points that you can use to purchase more skills. There are also multiple stances that you will unlock as you progress through the game and finish certain missions. There are armor and weapons that you will gain when you finish specific missions, making it imperative that you just don't play the main missions, the main story missions. You have to play it all. If you go through every mission, you will get a plethora of items and a plethora of rewards. Unfortunately though, as much as I am enjoying the game when it comes to the exploration, when it comes to the world, when it comes to the stuff that is available, it really doesn't do anything that extraordinary or that revolutionary when it comes to an open world presentation that you haven't seen, as I said, in say Shadow of Mordor or the Ubisoft games like Far Cry. The biggest problem I have with the game, other than some of the controls, including the touchpad being an integral part of the waypoint system, also being connected to the scanning for enemies, also being connected to certain motions like bowing or playing Jin's flute, that could alert enemies if you go into the wrong direction, or, as I've done multiple times, my thumbs just so happen to hit the touchpad when I am moving around or throwing attacks. But my biggest issue with the game definitely has to do with the camera. Unfortunately, this game has one of the biggest issues when it comes to combat, especially close combat scenarios, in that the camera doesn't go through objects. If you are in a dense forest and fighting enemies, you will have to manually move the camera around in the middle of a fight so you can see what's going on, because if the camera ends up behind a tree, it will not go through that tree, and you will be looking at the tree instead of looking at the enemies or looking at your own character. But sadly, when it comes to Ghost, this is a big problem, especially if you're in close quarter areas. It's something that I hope that they do fix with an update. Beyond that issue, Ghost of Tsushima is one of the best experiences I've had all year, not just on PlayStation 4, all year when it comes to video games. I wholeheartedly recommend this if you enjoy period pieces, if you enjoy open world experiences, if you enjoy realistic combat with a little bit of course video game flair, if you have patience, if you want to see progression. There are so many things that are positive about this game without reinventing the wheel while still delivering a must-play experience. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. Ghost of Tsushima, exclusively for the PlayStation 4. Now if you don't mind, I want to sit by a lake, write a haiku, maybe even pet a friendly fox. But if I have to decide if I want to engage in a showdown or not, the enemies who come and face me will have no choice but to say, "Oh Lordy."